Is Christianity the white man's religion? Where does this question come from, and why does it matter? Well, in June 2020, activist Shaun King broke the internet when he tweeted, "Yes, I think the statues of the white European they claim as Jesus should come down. They are a form of white supremacy, always have been." Amidst anger felt by many after witnessing the murder of George Floyd, which sparked global protests, King's tweet catapulted this question into the mainstream. Is Christianity the white man's religion? The roots of this question lie chiefly in the atrocities of the transatlantic slave trade, a heinous institution which often used Christianity to rationalize the enslavement of Africans. For example, the Bible passage in Genesis 9, verse 24 to 27 was wielded to invent something called the curse of Ham. The idea that Ham, supposedly the ancestors of black people, was cursed by his father Noah, and so his descendants were destined to be the slaves of white people. In addition, things like the contradiction of white enslavers who routinely tore families apart, separating and selling African men, women and children to different plantations, only to get up and get dressed on a Sunday with their own family and wife and children, was incredibly hypocritical. These examples and other awful details of the entwining of Christianity and slavery have led many to conclude that Christianity is indeed a tool of white supremacy used to dehumanize and strip away indigenous beliefs of African people. And so when we witness disturbing scenes of present-day racial injustice, this question, which has always bubbled away within black communities for as long as I can remember, is fanned into fervent flame. If it is true, then it's no wonder that many black people and people from a range of different ethnic backgrounds might reject Christianity as an oppressive belief system. But here are 3 reasons, in short, why I don't think Christianity is the white man's religion. The first is the black presence in the Bible. I think of Moses' wife, described in the Old Testament as a Cushite woman whom biblical scholars believe was a woman of color. I'm reminded of the poetic references to dark-skinned beauty in Song of Songs, chapter 1 and verse 5. And I think of the account of an Ethiopian official in the New Testament book of Acts, chapter 8, verse 26 to 40, where a man of rank and prestige was actively reading about the God of the Bible. The authors Glenn Usury and Craig Keener explain that the Christian message likely spread to Ethiopia from this encounter in their thought-provoking book, Defending Black Faith. The British theologian Dr. Gifford Ramey also makes a compelling case for the agency of the Ethiopian official who became a follower of Jesus not by coercion, but by his own volition. This brings me to my second reason, the presence of Christianity in Africa long before the transatlantic slave trade. I think of the North African early church fathers such as Origen, Augustine, Athanasius, and so many more, who were key thinkers and shapers of present-day Christianity. And yet they are often inaccurately portrayed as white Europeans in much of Christian art. I think about the account of church history, which frequently misses out or downplays the significance of the Ethiopian church, and in particular, Michael the deacon, who from a meeting in 1534 was influential to Martin Luther, who pioneered the Reformation. And lastly, I think of the testimony of my ancestors, people like Mary Prince, Olaudah Equiano, and Frederick Douglass. When I read their narratives about the horrors of the transatlantic slave trade, I'm often struck by their careful distinction between the version of Christianity which was weaponized in the enslavement of Africans and the truth, the beauty and dignity they found in following Jesus. In his powerful account condemning the evil of slavery, Frederick Douglass wrote, "Between the Christianity of this land and the Christianity of Christ, I recognize the widest possible difference. I love the pure, peaceable, and impartial Christianity of Christ. I therefore hate the corrupt, slave-holding, women whipping, cradle plundering, partial and hypocritical Christianity of this land. Clearly, Douglas doesn't pull any punches or sugarcoat any details in his strident denunciation of slavery. But the most striking thing for me is that Douglas, like Prince and Equiano, finds something compelling about Jesus. You might be thinking, well, Douglas only says these things because Christianity was forced upon him. However, to come to this conclusion by not dignifying Douglas's testimony in good faith is in some sense to ironically enact the same erasure and condescension that the enterprise of slavery did to so many Africans. No, his words are not the words of a docile or indoctrinated man. He is sharp and clear in his devotion to the Christ of Christianity. It's interesting that both Douglas and Shaun King, notably a former Christian pastor, denounce slavery and the whitewashing of Christianity, but they do not cancel Jesus. Jesus, a first century Jew and son of refugees who grew up in the underwhelming town of Nazareth, is an intriguing figure. Jesus, who taught about God's kingdom, healed the sick, and fraternized with outcasts and the nobodies of his day, seems like a subversive character, especially given the cultural norms of his time. Jesus, who was tried illegally, executed in a most shameful way, and his followers claim defeated death and rose again. This is the person I am personally drawn to, and the invitation to get to know him is open to you today too.